Hey, BB Nate.
Yeah, Dad?
The Batman IMAX screening is tonight.
I know, I cannot wait.
Yeah. All right, Sam, on a scale of 1 to 10, how excited do you think BB Nate is?
Gotta go with an 11.
An 11. All right, BB Nate, is he even close?
I guess, but I don't think anything can get close to what I'm feeling.
All right, well, we'll let Nathan give you everything you need to know about the Batman. Plus, we'll talk about some Star Wars and Superman. This is Tatooine Sons.
It's true. All of it.
What is the name of the porg on the Millennium Falcon?
Force is strong in my family.
What do you think his name is? It's a big moment.
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
Maybe Turbis?
Do or do not. There is no try.
Turbis? Pablo, if you're listening to this live stream, that porg's name is now Turbis. It's a good Star Wars name.
We're not done yet.
These guys recorded an awesome podcast called Tatooine Sons. Everybody was
What are you more excited about? Magic Kingdom or Universal?
I'm not sure. Probably Universal because I haven't been before, but I'm still excited to go to Magic Kingdom.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, it's kind of weird going back to Orlando, I bet.
It is very strange going back to Orlando.
So BB Nate is going to Orlando with the leadership team from the youth group at church. And he's going to spend some time at Disney and Universal. It's going to be a lot of fun. Samuel,
Yes.
congratulations before we get started on the
Thank
show.
you. Of course.
His internship at Airbus. The dream is becoming a reality.
It's getting there.
Getting closer with it. Welcome to Tatooine Sons, a pop culture podcast, the only fan podcast to name a canon Star Wars creature and to be endorsed by Rian Johnson. We believe that pop culture is the mythology of this generation, that there's a story, it is written on our souls, and that these myths speak to that story. And that is why we are talking about the Batman and the Emperor and the Parasite.
Lots of does.
It is. I am David. I am the dad.
Hi, Dad.
Hi, Dad.
Hello, gentlemen. I am honored to be joined every week by my two amazing sons, Samuel.
Yes, sir.
I got some Star Wars to talk about today, but
Little
not
bit,
Boba
yeah.
Fett.
No. Sadly, I missed Boba Fett. But seems like we're not quite done with the Emperor just
Somehow
yet.
Palpatine has
Somehow Palpatine has returned. BB Nate, obviously you're talking
Yes,
about...
the Batman releases this week, and is there really anything else I need to say?
No,
Nope.
you shouldn't. So, yeah.
you
And,
got?
You, Dad?
you remember how we thought that all of those plots in Superman and Lois didn't fit together?
Yeah.
We were wrong. All right. Thank you so much for listening to the show. If you're a first-time listener, thank you. Hit that subscribe button or follow button. I don't know what it is on your podcast app because nobody has any idea how to make it consistent. I think it's follow now. But anyway, check it out. Follow the show on your podcast app. Please do that. If you're a returning listener, thank you so much for checking us out. BB Nate is tired, apparently. He's yawning over there.
Sorry.
No, he probably just saw me yawn, actually.
I did.
So I must be the sociopath in the group
Yes.
because I see
You
them
didn't
both
yawn.
yawn and I don't yawn.
Yep,
All right.
that explains a lot.
Friday, we've got a very special episode coming out.
do.
We are going to be doing a spoiler review of the Batman, the three of us, since BB Nate has been waiting. How long have you been waiting for this?
Oh, well, it's been in production for 5 years, but I've been excited for it for over 3.5.
Wow.
So a long time.
Dang, that's pretty amazing. Why don't we not make you wait any longer? Why don't we stop talking about what we're going to talk about and talk about what we're talking about?
There we go.
Can we do that?
Yeah, after waiting for so long, like we've said, we're so close to the Batman being officially released, and I cannot wait for it. So let me get all of y'all caught up on this movie before it comes out.
All of y'all.
All of y'all.
All y'all.
All y'all.
All y'all.
Have you ever danced with the devil in the pale moonlight?
Yeah, I can fly.
I'm here to fight for truth and justice in the American way.
The people in this room, which one is A, wearing a spangly outfit, and B, not of use?
There's only one God, man. And I'm pretty sure he doesn't dress like that.
Batman has no limits.
for some people at the
Sleeper
start. Yeah, and then it's going to gain some serious traction.
I don't think it's going to be a sleeper
I think it's going to take the whole world by
Well,
surprise.
I'm saying like it's probably going to start off being, not the general public doesn't seem to all like super excited for it. I mean, I know that there are people excited for it, like us,
Do you have like plans to talk about this on the episode at all?
No.
Okay. No. I had a conversation with someone that is an industry insider.
Okay.
Today, he works for an organization that does projections for the box office for a living.
Okay.
That's what they do, for the industry, right? And I was asking him if he thought there was any chance that it could like clear 200 million domestically in that, which is an absurd amount of money for this type of film. Okay. And he was like, there's no shot there. He was like laughing at me, right? So he went into his system for the company he works with and started looking at what they're projecting out right now. Right now, he's like, oh my gosh, this thing is going to do really well. They're projecting 165 million opening weekend domestically with it. And then he says, and it's going up. All right. So BB Nate.
It's crazy, but the Batman is releasing this week, and there is a lot to cover for this movie. Well, except minus the story, because we don't know a lot about the story. But let's start about the production and some of the crew behind it. Now, the Batman started production under Ben Affleck.
So he was originally the actor for this?
This was going to be the DCEU Batman movie.
Okay.
It started under Ben Affleck almost 6 years ago, but was eventually stopped after the whole Zack Snyder fiasco. Now, the script was handed over to Matt Reeves, who quickly changed the whole movie, not out of disrespect of Ben or his Batman, but because he felt like he couldn't do that version right. Now, Matt Reeves has done a ton of amazing movies like Cloverfield, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, War for the Planet of the Apes, and much more. Now, the director of photography in this movie is somebody that y'all know, is Greg Fraser himself. He's done amazing stuff like Rogue One and like his Oscar-nominated movie, Dune.
Wow.
This is right now. And of course, we can't forget about the composer of this film, Michael Giacchino, who's done stuff like Incredibles, Up, Doctor Strange, and much, much more. Now, the full soundtrack for the Batman is actually available to listen to right now. And trust me, it's worth listening to. Now, y'all haven't seen anything that Matt Reeves has done. Does that worry you, or are you interested in this new take from this new director?
I don't think there's anything to be worried about. Those are highly acclaimed films. I've seen 10 Cloverfield Lane. I know that's not by him.
He produced it.
Right. And I know, you've seen Dawn of the Planet of the Apes and War for the Planet of the Apes, and you've said that those are great movies, and I know that those are fantastic movies too. So from what I've heard, I know that he's going to do a great job with this. Would I like to see some of those movies? Certainly, but I have faith in him.
I'm surprised that I haven't watched some of those. I know that the Planet of the Apes reboot was really popular.
The first one was received okay, but then he took over the second and the third one in the trilogy, and they're just spectacular.
So the ones that he did were not the original, the first of that new reboot. Okay, I didn't know that. No, I'm excited. Everything that I've seen about this movie makes me excited for it. So I wouldn't care who's directing it at this point. I'm excited to see it.
Yeah. Now, Dad, you've always been impressed by the cinematography of Rogue One. Are you excited to see Greg Fraser working on this?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, Rogue One and Dune are two of the most beautiful films in the last 10 years.
Oh yeah, for sure.
They're gorgeous, and Dune obviously is receiving this nomination for his cinematography, which is well worth it. Definitely excited about that. It tells me that this isn't just going to be a great story with great performances. It's going to be a beautiful film, and that makes it very exciting.
Sam.
Yeah. No, Greg, he does a really good job of like using sense of scale and stuff. In Dune, he's got, the giant ships that are juxtaposed with the planets and stuff. Or there's one shot in Rogue One where you got the Star Destroyer just above Jeddah or whatever, and that's a great shot. So like his use of scale is going to be great for Gotham. It's going to be these huge towers and giant chasms. It looks like. I mean, he's going to make the city probably feel as much a character as anything else,
which is great.
Yeah.
Now, Sam, the soundtrack. What do you think of what you've listened to so far?
Have you listened to some of it?
A little bit. I haven't had as much time today as I would like to have listened to it. It's
college.
College. But I've listened to a bit, and it's fantastic. Obviously, the 3 themes that have been released for the Riddler, the Batman, and Catwoman, I've listened to those probably a dozen times at least. But I listened to the last track that you recommended, was Sonata in Darkness, and
is that the one you were talking about at the end? The piano
suite.
Yeah, it's just a piano suite at the end. It's beautiful, and I've listened to the first few tracks, and they're really good. Giacchino's use of themes is very prevalent, which I like. I've been talking to Nathan about that for a long time now. I'm like, I want themes with my superheroes, right? A recognizable tune, much like the original Batman theme, right? You know that from in an instant. And I want it used throughout the movie, and that's exactly what Giacchino's doing. But not only for the Batman, which you hear his theme throughout all the place, but Catwoman and Riddler, his themes all throughout it too. I mean, I love the use of themes that he's tying into it. So it's really good so far.
Dad, you've listened to a tiny bit of the soundtrack.
I listened to the whole soundtrack. When I came back after lunch, I sat in here while I was working on stuff and played the whole thing out. It was, first of all, let me stop. I loved it. Okay. I don't remember. I don't remember when it went to the suite because I got really...
That was at the very end.
I got really entranced in what I was doing with my work. And so I'm sure it played and it was beautiful. All I remember was that when the track stopped playing, Spotify continued to play Michael Giacchino. Is that how it's pronounced? I always want to pronounce it differently than that. Anyway, I started playing stuff and I'm like, wait, this is Batman? And then it was Ratatouille. And so I was like, that's a weird Batman track. And then it pulled me out and made me realize what was going on. But it was fantastic. Yeah.
It was a great soundtrack. I listened to the whole thing.
You liked it?
I did. So I woke up this morning and I had the notification from Water Tower Music, Warner Brothers Water Tower, and I saw it and I messaged Sammy. I'm like, it's out a week early, which is unusual as is. And so I got ready and everything, and I sat down and wrote my show notes and had that playing in the background, and it was fantastic. I loved it. Now let's get to the cast of this movie. Now we have Robert Pattinson, who's known for his actually good movies like Tenet and Good Times, which Good Times was critically acclaimed for an indie movie.
What is that one?
It was just a small little indie movie that appears. I haven't seen it, of course, but I've heard that he did an absolutely amazing job.
Wasn't he in The Lighthouse with?
He was also in The Lighthouse as well, which was, again, he was praised in that. Now he will be playing this young Batman. Now Zoe Kravitz.
Do you not even know how to pronounce her name?
Kravitz. There we go.
It's Zoe Kravitz.
That's what I thought.
Zoe Kravitz will be playing Catwoman, Selena Kyle, in this film. Now, this version of Selena seems to be taking heavy inspiration from Batman Year One's version of her character, to the point even where Matt Reeves told Zoe to read that comic for her inspiration.
Wow.
She did.
Have you read that comic?
Yes, I have, actually. And I watched the movie as well. And it's a fantastic telling. And I'm getting the same vibes from the trailers for that Catwoman. Paul Dano will be playing the Riddler. Now, this is a version we haven't really seen before, so we don't know what to expect with this character.
The name's different, too. Well, not the
Edward
Riddler.
Nashton.
Yeah.
Yes, so we don't... It's completely different take. And Jeffrey Wright will be playing good old James Gordon in this film. Again, this will be a different take on this character. He's not the commissioner we've seen in most of the other movies, if not all the other movies besides Batman Begins. And he's trying to fight the corruption in the cop system, which again is highly prevalent in Batman Year One. So
there was an element of that in
Batman Begins, yes. And halfway through The Dark Knight. But in Batman Year One, he is a lieutenant. He is just having a bunch of partners and cops that are corrupted. He doesn't like the commissioner. And so it's all seeming to play out like that as well. So again, this Year One's being shown as a source of inspiration. And last, but certainly not least, Colin Farrell will be playing the Penguin. And how this just seems to be like a classic take on his character, except for the fact that he is an up-and-coming crime lord. He is under the thumb of Carmine Falcone, kind of his lackey. We found that out before the Batman.
Interesting.
Kind of just, he's always being thrown to the side, and he's kind of...
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's a cool take.
And Falcone is going to be a big part of this.
He is.
This movie as
John
well.
Turno, I think that's his name.
Yeah, he's great.
I don't know, but
He's in the
a
Transformers
fantastic- He was in the
movies, right? Yeah.
When I first heard of his casting, I was really surprised and shocked because I don't think of him as a Carmine at all, but he's looking like he's going to do a fantastic job in this. I'm really excited. Now, Dad, what do you think of the casting for James Gordon in this movie?
Okay, so this is the thing that's supposed to be all controversial because I'm not saying not us making it controversial.
No,
I'm saying that this casting has been somewhat controversial.
It has been a hot topic, yes,
because obviously Jeffrey Wright is African American, and obviously Commissioner Gordon has not been that previously in any other film or in most of the other stuff. I don't care about that.
Either.
Jeffrey Wright is a fantastic
He's an amazing
actor, and the scenes that I've seen of him, especially that one clip where he's having that really intense conversation with the Batman,
and just gets punched.
Right. He's great. He's going to be fantastic. I'm excited to see how it goes. So yeah, no problem at all with that casting. Jeffrey Wright's an amazing actor.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. From the moment I heard he was cast as Commissioner Gordon, I'm like, he's going to knock it out of the park. He's going to do just fantastic. It is going to take a little bit of a shift because I listened to the Batman audio adventures, which are fantastic, by the way. If you haven't listened to them, give them a try. But he actually voices Batman in those. So that's going to take a little bit of a shift mentally, but I think he's going to knock it out of the park. Yeah.
All right.
Sam, what do you think of this different take and casting on the Riddler?
Well, obviously, I'm a fan of it. His look,
that's why I gave you this. That's why I gave you this question,
because I've done a cosplay for. But that aside, I was actually really interested in this take of the Riddler because my previous exposure to the Riddler was now the name just completely slipped my mind.
Jim
Carrey, that's it. And his take on the Riddler. I like this kind of serious, much more realistic feel for the character. I mean, he's based off of the Zodiac Killer, which is a real world serial killer. Serial killers are a thing that we can associate with in our world because they're about the closest thing to a supervillain that we have in a way. So I really like this take on the Riddler and how he's much more psychological and he's using like social media and stuff. I think it's gonna be great.
Dad?
Oh, I've been a fan of this character since I finished reading that prequel book.
Oh, you finished it?
Oh yeah, it's great.
It was a really good novel.
With it, I love the idea of this character, and then just the elements that we've seen in the trailers of him. He's going to be disturbing. This is a different Batman movie. It is very dark, and I am intrigued by it. I'm listening. Even listening, we were talking about this when we were listening to the soundtrack. The soundtrack is a horror movie soundtrack.
Oh yeah, from what I've heard, it's got some freaky moments.
You ain't going to find this soundtrack on a Marvel movie.
No.
This, and so if you're expecting Iron Man, Captain America, Doctor Strange, you aren't getting that with this movie. This is a dark serial killer horror level movie set in the Batman universe.
It's a detective film.
It's
like Zodiac.
Yeah,
kind of
it
feel.
is.
And there's so many points and things that are being made in the trailers and in interviews and everything that just make me feel like they're really appreciating what the comics have done with this character in this movie. They're not trying to make a comic book movie. They are making that comic book movie. They aren't trying so hard. They know what they're doing. They're following the source material, what we've gotten for years, for over 80 years of Batman. They're following that. Yeah. And they're really following the period of what is considered some of the best stuff for detective Batman, which is from the 80s and the 90s. And then we had Scott Snyder's run, which is, of course, what y'all have read the first 2 volumes of in the New 52 Batman universe, which is very detective oriented. So we're getting all of that, and they're all really dark. We had Nightfall, we had Year One, and Frank Miller changed the superhero comic book world with his dark detective storytelling, and it all worked really well. And so they're taking inspiration from that is great. Now, story-wise, we don't know much about this movie's story, so I can't do much here, but this is the time for y'all to give me your predictions sure to go wrong.
Oh, I'm going to let Samuel Heck go first.
First, I just want to say we've said this multiple times, but the marketing for this film has been fantastic in that they have been able to generate enough interest in the movie for us to want to go 4 times in the first week. But also not give away any of the story at all. We have no idea what to expect going into this. While you'll watch some trailers and you don't even need to see the movie, you know how it's going to end up. So first off, they've done well on that.
They've also done a better job at keeping the leaks down.
Yeah.
Very well.
And that's important because going into No Way Home, you know, you could go in and say you weren't spoiled because you didn't know for sure that Toby and Andrew were in it, but you kind of knew Toby and Andrew were in it. You didn't know for sure that Charlie Cox was going to show up, but when he showed up, you were like, there was enough rumors out there, there was enough leaks. Thank you, John Campea, and some others out there that got that out there that you knew those things were going to happen.
Yeah.
They have locked down the leaks on this,
Definitely,
and lots of people have seen this movie, which that tells me that those people are so impressed with this movie that they don't want the leaks to get out. They want people to be able to experience this in the movie theater, and that's very exciting.
But as for predictions, try to go wrong, I don't know.
You basically can just say anything.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's you know, a blank slate at this point. I mean, I'm hoping that Riddler isn't like killed off in this story, you know, through one way or another. I'm not saying Batman will go and, you know, strike the final blow or anything, but you know what I mean. I hope we keep him around like Batman always does with his
Arkham Asylum.
Yeah, Arkham Asylum or something. But you know, of course, I think we're all kind of rooting for this. We want to see something Court of Owls. I'm not saying they're the bad guys of this film, but some sort of setup at the end, because we know we're going to get more films of this. So I'm really hoping for, well, there's a high likelihood that we will get more films in this franchise. So I'm hoping we get a Court of Owls tease in the end.
I think that we will. I don't think we're going to get, like, we're not going to see any guys in the white mask. We're not going to see Talon in this. And we may not even hear the name Court of Owls brought up, but you are going to find out. This is my prediction, and I don't feel like it's going to go wrong. I feel like it's going to happen.
You're really confident.
I feel like we're going to hear about some long lasting behind the scenes conspiracy that the Wayne family has been involved in for decades before this. And that is what the Riddler is going to expose to the Batman in this. And that will be the setup for the next movie. And for those that know Court of Owls and all of you that listen to this show, you're all going to be like, dude just talked about the Court of Owls, and the people that are not familiar with it aren't going to go into it being spoiled.
Yeah.
So what about
sorry, I just want to add to that. You make a good point in them not even revealing the court in this, because what's important, if you've read, I'm starting to reread the Court of Owls, what's important is the court isn't just up and revealed. Detective or Batman has to find
exactly
them. So it would make more sense for the film for him to be discovering it.
Yeah, he figures it out.
Yeah, right about 3.
BB Nate, yours?
I'm not sure if I have a prediction, honestly. The only reason I don't think that the Court of Owls would happen is because I'm not sure if they will set up a sequel. Matt Reeves is making it very obvious that while this is a good movie that could set up the possibilities for a chapter 2 or a chapter 3, this is a standalone movie by itself. He keeps saying that. He says that it works as well as a standalone movie as one that could, you know, potentially create sequels, but he made this with a standalone movie in mind. So the possibilities of sequel teases isn't something I'm confident in.
The beauty of this movie would be if you can find a way, if you're not a Court of Owls person, you can find a way for this movie to, yes, there's this weird backstory with the Wayne family, and it may be tied to some bigger conspiracy or whatever, but it doesn't have to be Court of Owls and it ends. Or if you are a Court of Owls person and you've read those comics, you're walking away going, I know they're coming back with a sequel in Court of Owls, which he has said he would like to do that.
Robert Pattinson has said that he would like to do that. But honestly, in this, I'm not sure if I can give a prediction sure to go wrong. With judging by how much we don't know about this movie,
any prediction is sure to go wrong.
And the thing is somebody's been pointing this out. This is a 3-hour-long movie, and all of the clips and trailers we've gotten are about 10 minutes of it. We don't know anything of this movie,
which makes it exciting. Go check it out if you haven't yet.
Of course. And by the time that this episode comes out, it will only be a few hours till we see the Batman. Woo-hoo! So make sure to go see the Batman this weekend in theaters.
Absolutely. All right. It's bad news time.
It is.
Yeah. Before we move on, I want to personally thank InsideTheMagic.com for making my job at finding stories for our bad news segment very easy. this week. We'll explain that next.
This is not going to go the way you think.
Hello there, Tatooine Sons family. David here. Before we get to the bad news for this week, I want to take just a minute to explain a few changes coming to the show. You probably noticed the ads that ran before things got started this episode. There will be some more a little later on and again after the episode finishes. We've had ads on the show before, so if you've been listening for a while, this isn't all that unusual. What it comes down to is that producing Tatooine Sons is something we absolutely love to do, but it costs in a couple of different ways. First, it costs to put the show online and distribute it through the podcast app that you're listening to it on right now. There are also production costs, including show art and the website, and even expenses like going to the movies so we can talk about them on the show. Those things add up fast. But on top of all of those hard costs, it takes a lot of time to plan and produce and record and to edit and promote the show. And I know you realize that it isn't something that we're just turning on a microphone, recording and throwing it online. Each episode actually takes more than 20 hours of work on our end. Now, I want to stop right here and say something because I want it to be really clear. We absolutely love doing this show. We aren't complaining about these costs at all. Producing and hosting Tatooine Sons is one of the highlights of our week. But all of those hard and soft costs have led us to a decision to include ads again on the show because these ads help defray those hard costs for each episode. But that leads to another change for Tatooine Sons. We're restarting our Patreon program. It's been turned off for over a year now, mostly because we really didn't feel like it was offering a lot of value to our platforms. And I personally hated that part of it. But now we've revamped it and we're really excited to launch it again. There are 4 tiers to the program, and we're pumped about what each tier has to offer. These tiers start at as little as $5 per month, and each of them gives you access to the show ad-free, along with our weekly interview series, which is now moving to Patreon to become an exclusive benefit, and then access to our Patreon community of positive, friendly, passionate fans who love talking about Star Wars and Marvel and DC and Lord of the Rings and so much more. And then the benefits, they just go up from there. So if you love Tatooine Sons and you want to help us continue to produce positive, family-friendly conversations about the stories that you love, you actually now have 2 ways that you can help us. You can continue to listen to the show as you always have, with just a few ads inserted here and there to help cover our costs, or you can join our Patreon family for ad-free listening and so much more. If you want to learn more about our Patreon program, then just go to patreon.com and search Tatooine Sons. It'll pull it right up. You can also find the link in the show notes, of course. Whichever you choose, I personally want to thank you for being a part of our Tatooine Sons family. And may the Force be with you always.
Well, you want the bad news or the really bad news?
All right, headline 1. Disney is majorly changing the Star Wars story with new resort.
Whoa.
Inside the Magic is feeding the Star Wars fanboy theories that Disney is retconning the sequel trilogy with this horribly misleading headline. A casual glance at this clickbait title could easily lead one to believe that the Galactic Star Cruiser at Galaxy's Edge Resort in Orlando is twisting and changing the sequel story. It isn't. Instead, this is a long article with a very passing mention of the announced meeting between Rey and Kylo Ren that we covered on last week's episode. No real news here. Clickbait level of 7.
Actor excited to replace Sam Wilson in the MCU. Don't get too worried about this. Inside the Magic is just twisting another headline.
Yeah.
Sam Wilson's still going to be picking up the shield as Captain America in future MCU stories, including Captain America 4, expected to release sometime in 2024. The story here is about Danny Ramirez, who played Joaquin Torres in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Joaquin Torres is expected to take up the mantle of the Falcon in future MCU stories. So while this headline is technically true, it's another example of how a headline can be intentionally misleading.
Very misleading.
And Ryan Reynolds possibly replaced by new Blade actor. Inside the Magic must have needed to get their numbers up this week because they're 3 for 3 on clickbait headlines, and we even found a fourth we didn't use.
Yeah,
this one suggests that Ryan Reynolds is being replaced as Deadpool in the MCU. Of course, that isn't happening at all. Just that the character he played in the Wesley Snipes version of the story, Hannibal King, could potentially be played by Aaron Pierre in the Mahershala Ali version of the film in development.
Of Blade, right?
Of Blade,
Yeah.
yes. Nobody really knows who Pierre will play, but that didn't stop the magic, air quotes, from happening with this headline. Clickbait level of 9.
Clickbait level of 9. Thank you, Inside the Magic. It was an easy segment to write this week.
Thank you, but also not thank you.
Oh, it's one of my favorite segments.
Well, yeah, but they just keep pumping out the garbage.
Well,
so,
that's
like,
true.
thank you for that.
That's
but
all right.
Thank you for making
gives
our
us
jobs
gives
easy.
us a chance to talk about it. So, when we last talked about Superman and Lois, though, we were trying to figure out how the cult leader Ali Alston fit into the bigger story. After this week's episode, we can definitely answer that question.
Hokey religions and ancient weapons are no match for a good blaster at your side, kid.
Rebellions are built on hope.
Force is with me, and I am with the Force.
If you live long enough, you see the same eyes in different people.
3.6 seconds to realize that all of our questions were going to get answered when this thing started.
Yeah, I started it and I was just like, all right, okay.
Yeah, as soon as we got started. Hey, what did you think about the opening of it?
Oh,
Sam?
I thought it was just what we needed at this point in the series.
Sam still hasn't watched a single episode of this, and we're going to try to make sure that we can still keep him involved in the conversation. And we're going to do that by talking about the character that it seems almost certain that Ali Alston. Allie. That's
call her Allie.
Allie. Allie is turning into. She's going to be this character. It's the character called Parasite. It's a big time villain in the comic books with it. So I thought we would talk about Parasite for this segment of Superman and Lois instead of diving too much into the episode. We'll end up having to talk about the episode, of course, as a part of that. But in the comics, Parasite is the name of actually several different supervillains that appear, in DC throughout different storylines. Each version of the character, this is kind of the key, I think, has the ability to temporarily absorb the life energy or the superpowers and even the knowledge of their victim.
So like Rogue. Kind of.
Yeah, kind of like that.
Kind
of. The most recurring parasite is Rudolph Rudy Jones. He's actually one of the main adversaries of Superman. He belongs kind of in Superman's rogues gallery with that. In 2009, Parasite was actually ranked as IGN's 61st greatest comic book villain of all time.
That's a high honor.
I don't know how many were in front of it.
No.
Well, 60 others were in front of it. I don't know who they were. But anyway, Rudy Jones' version of Parasite was also, he's actually been in the Arrowverse.
Yeah, that's...
in several episodes of Supergirl. With it. And thank you, Wikipedia, for giving me all of that information. Nate.
Yes.
Have you encountered any version of Parasite in your DC Comics experience?
Sadly not. I don't read a lot of Superman by himself. I do read a lot of Justice League and Final Crisis and all that kind of stuff, but I'm mainly a Batman guy, and I have not encountered Parasite that I know of yet. I might have encountered him in a Final Crisis arc with Superman just as a little cameo, but I don't think I've encountered him as a villain quite yet.
Yeah, so do you know anything about the character other than before this?
Really.
Okay, so you were really
that's why I'm interested in this character being put into this show.
Okay.
And definitely going to have to research more up on it.
Okay.
So.
Well, Sam, we've actually seen villains like this before in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 2. Crusher Creel.
I don't
you don't remember
Agents
Crusher
of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Creel?
at all.
Okay. Well, he was able to absorb powers of his, and even kind of like Taskmaster in the Black Widow, where she could, take on all and learn how they do their moves and their powers and mimic them on this. What do you think about villains who can mimic or even steal powers from superheroes?
Oh, I think they're always a really interesting dynamic. I mean, I love Taskmaster. I think it's a super cool character, and characters like Rogue, but as like a villain is really interesting because then it kind of puts them on an even playing field with pretty much anybody. Because if they just get, if they can just touch whoever they're fighting, they're on level ground with them. And that makes them pretty dangerous, especially if they can like full on just absorb all the life energy from somebody, then you're kind of screwed. So I love those kind of villains because they're very versatile.
Yeah. Alexandra Alston kind of picks up the mantle in the comics of this. She's a newer version of Parasite, again, able to feed off of energy from a variety of sources, including and in the comics, especially Superman. She's a big villain of Superman in this. In the comics, she's called Alexandra. She actually has a twin brother named Alex. So they're both Ali Alston. In the comics. But she's actually recruited by Lex Luthor to join the secret society of supervillains. In that, are you familiar with that at all? Is that not really a storyline?
Do they call themselves supervillains?
Oh yeah. The Secret Society of Supervillains is great. It's like the Justice League of supervillains. It's awesome.
And they acknowledge that they're the bad guys.
Yes, they love it.
Okay. All right. Well, Sam, you may not know this, but season 1 of Superman and Lois opened with John Henry Irons, who was called Steel, going by the name of Captain Lex Luthor. And then it seems, that Luthor is, at least from my experience, he seems always to be on the fringes of the series. He's always sort of out there, but they never even bring him up much. Do you think, Sam, that it's possible to tell a Superman story without Lex Luthor?
I didn't even realize he wasn't in the series, which is how much I think you need to have Lex Luthor to tell a story with Superman. I mean, granted, the Man of Steel movie and all of those stories with Superman don't have. Well, no, they do have Lex Luthor. That's right.
BVS.
Yeah, right. BVS. So I feel like the two characters are so intrinsic to each other that you kind of associate one with the other. You have to have them. I mean, it's almost like Batman and Joker. Everybody is just waiting for this new movie, waiting to see the point where they tease something with Joker, because you just it's like a dyad. You have to have one. You have to have both if you're gonna have.
It's like love and marriage. You can't have one without the other.
Don't,
thank you,
Dad. Please.
No, I've got that song.
Do you want me to sing?
No, I've got it in my head. We're good.
We're good.
No. I can unplug you.
Okay.
But yeah. Anyway, no, I think they're trying maybe to tell a story without Lex Luthor, but I think there's nothing wrong with accepting that you have to tell a story with Lex Luthor and telling a story with Lex Luthor.
Okay.
So,
BB Nate, the creators of the series have teased that season 2 was going to have multiple villains. So far, we've got Bizarro Superman, who seems less villainous now after this episode, and then Ali, who appears to be Parasite. With this. What are the chances we get a Lex Luthor reveal before the end of the season?
Low, if I'm going to be honest. I don't think that they will put Lex Luthor, at least in this season. I think they're trying to tell a Superman story without him for a little while. I think they're wanting to tell the story of Superman with his other villains a lot, because there are a lot of villains that are cool. Like Parasite is a cool villain. Bizarro is a cool villain. They can have the opportunity to bring Doomsday in whenever they want to actually, tell us the truth and put him in. But whatever because we got Tal Rho, which was a completely original character in the last season, and it was a very well done villain. So they have every opportunity to tell Superman stories without Lex Luthor at this point.
Yeah, I don't think you bring him in at this point. I mean, this show's been running for so long that you don't bring him in just to throw him in quickly. I think you have to, in order to make him a good villain for Superman, you have to build up the character and the relationship for a while before you just throw him in as a supervillain. So
the fact that he's not in Metropolis is hurting that possibility as well, because him being in Smallville changes everything.
Yeah, why would Lex Luthor go to Smallville?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we've teased into a little bit, but not much. Superman and Lois has its own Ali Alston now, and she's this mysterious cult leader we've talked about before, has very deep connections to both Lois's family and Lois's work as a reporter for the Daily Planet before this. We learned in this latest episode that Ali actually inherited a medallion similar to the one worn by Bizarro Superman in the earlier episodes, which we saw actually at one point absorbing Superman's powers during one of their battles. If you watch that scene with his hands on his shoulders, you see those hands turning black. It's like he's absorbing those powers. In this latest episode, we also learned that Ali Alston has taken over Bizarro Superman's world, which was like one of the big revelations of it. Nate, we've been waiting for these different plot lines to converge all season long. How do you feel about Allie being the supervillain of this season?
I like it. It brings in how Lois is still important to this series, because it's hard to bring in a journalist into Superman because they're so different. But it's
except that they've been doing it for, I don't know what, 75,
this is true,
80 years.
but it's difficult to do because Superman's so powerful, and normally Lois is a side character. And as a show Superman and Lois, you have two main characters. That's Superman and Lois. And so they're bringing it back with Morgan Edge, Lois Lane investigating somebody she doesn't really trust. And eventually that person is the main supervillain of the season. While it is a formula they've used before, it works. It's really interesting. And it ties into how Lois can help Superman in these situations. Because honestly, Lois really doesn't have any way to, stack up against Superman's strength or speed or anything. But she can help him out with the journalism side and the, kind of the cynical side of Lois in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate from what I've heard that they haven't just put her character aside or just kind of used her as like a little bit of a plot device every so often when they need her. I mean, it's good to hear that they're using her she is a main character as much as Superman.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Let's talk about what this could mean for the rest of season 2. Tie all these different plot lines together, except for that mayoral thing, which still doesn't seem to fit in. But anyway, into one cohesive story. Bizarro Superman probably isn't the big villain. In fact, it seems like he might even be on the good side of things in this. Jordan is growing stronger with his superpowers, and he's training with his grandfather so that he can stand beside Superman should he need his help.
Grandfather?
Yeah. Lois Lane's dad. Watch the show, you'd know that. Jonathan is using the superpower performance enhancing drug XK, which has unlocked his Kryptonian genetics.
It has.
And now Allie Alston has an alternate version of herself that has proven to be a maniacal despot. BB Nate, what's going on? Speculate irresponsibly.
Well, I mean, we got those set photos about Jonathan in the classic Superboy outfit. So he will eventually have his powers fully unlocked, which is encouraging. I kind of always was wanting that from the beginning of the series. I almost didn't watch this series because I was frustrated how Jonathan didn't get the powers, because Jonathan Kent is who got the powers in the comics. Jordan didn't even exist in the comics. And so I was frustrated about that. But I enjoyed, of course, what had happened with Jordan. I've come to really like his character, but I'm excited to see Jonathan and kind of having to explain how XK, unlocked his Kryptonian genetics, how that's going to play into everything. And that's definitely going to play into Bizarro, because XK was something that affected Bizarro to the point where Superman could beat him. So that might really play into all of that. And then, Allie Alston, I do think we're going to see Bizarro, Superman, Superboy, and Jordan all team up against a giant parasite at the end of this season. And that would honestly be an amazing way to end the season. And that feels like a good Superman story to me. So I'm excited about it.
Bizarro Superman can be good.
Yeah,
it's never really happened in the comics from what I understand.
Yeah, he's more of a villain in the comics, but there are times when he can be reasoned with at least a tiny bit.
Interesting.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to be good in this.
It's certainly an interesting story. It's not like any of the movies by any means that I've seen.
Yeah, so. I mean, in this story, he's come across from Bizarro World into our Earth in order to take out Allie. So that because Allie is getting ready to take over this planet just the way that she's done to the other.
So he's good.
He wants Superman to kill her.
Yeah.
Now that he's been captured.
He's not on Superman's side. He's just against Allie.
Yes.
This whole season, they were sort of this idea at the beginning that you could see a death of Superman in this with the Doomsday. We don't have Doomsday now.
No.
But could we see a death of Superman now, and it being instead this time Bizarro Superman?
It's very possible. Going down that route of killing Bizarro, while it would be controversial in the way that we wouldn't have Bizarro in the series anymore, I feel like it could work. I feel like it would really, add a lot to the series. And again, I mean, every one of them noticed, like Clark right away noticed that it was an exact mirror image of him. So that's already, I mean, we've learned that affects the people in this series. Nat seeing her mom, but it isn't her mom, affected her. So
that's true. I had never even made that connection.
Even if Bizarro did die and get killed by Allie in some way, that would still affect Jordan, Jonathan, Lois. The fact that even these people as powerful as Bizarro can be killed so easily. I think that we might be seeing that happen.
That's a good point.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and talk do a little dad moment here.
I am your father.
There were 3 or 4 things in this week's Superman and Lois episode that I thought about talking about in this dad moment. There was a lot of them, but the one that I really want to dig into is how the inability for Superman and Bizarro to communicate actually created most of the conflict that we've seen between the two of them in this series. If you haven't watched, you need to understand that everything about Bizarro is literally, it's backwards, including his speech. So when he speaks, you can't understand anything he says. And this breakdown in communication, combined with a lack of trust and a large dose of fear, resulted in all of the battles that we've seen between Superman and Bizarro so far. It's the same thing in our real world. When we can't fully communicate with each other, we allow our differences and our fears and our lack of trust to create conflict. Sometimes we identify others as our enemy and miss the enemies that are right in front of us. And so communication is such an important tool to learn, and taking time to communicate with others, even when they're different or we're afraid of them, is so important. So that's my dad moment. Anyway. All right. One thing about this series that we need to always remember: nothing is what it seems. Everything could change the next week. So we'll see what happens with that. And now we'll move into some movie moments.
Yeah.
All right. There's only one movie coming out this weekend. I bet you can guess what it is. And then Chris Pine and Kiefer Sutherland are going head to head with Morbius this April. And we've got projections for the box office. That's next on Movie Moments.
At last, we will reveal ourselves to the Jedi. At last, we will have revenge.
All right, for new releases this week, I don't think there's that much going on.
No.
Not that I know of. Oh, wait. There's The Batman. It is about, the description is, when the Riddler, a sadistic serial killer, begins murdering key political figures in Gotham, Batman is forced to investigate the city's hidden corruption and question his family's involvement.
I'm telling you, it's quarter hours, but anyway.
The director is, like we've said earlier on in this episode, Matt Reeves. The cast is Robert Pattinson, Zoe Kravitz, Jeffrey Wright.
How do you pronounce that word, Nate?
Kravitas.
Jeffrey Wright, who you spelled Geoffrey Wright.
I did the British spelling.
You did the British spelling. And Andy Serkis. The studio is Warner Brothers. It is rated PG-13 for strong and violent and disturbing content, drug content, strong language, and some suggestive material. Dang, right. That is a mouthful. That is a long rating. Going yes or no?
Oh, yeah. 4 times. We've literally got tickets 4 times in the first week.
Yes. So. For new trailers this week, The Contractor, April 1st. Special Forces Sergeant James Harper is involuntarily discharged from the Army and cut off from his pension. In debt, out of options, and desperate to provide for his family, Harper contracts with a private underground military force. When the very first assignment goes awry, the elite soldier finds himself hunted and on the run, caught in a dangerous conspiracy and fighting to stay alive long enough to get home and uncover the true motives of those who betrayed him. It looks pretty interesting. Chris Pine is a fantastic actor in everything I've seen him in, and Kiefer Sutherland is going to be breathing a lot, probably.
I'm just concerned that it's going up, literally opening the same day as Morbius.
Yeah, that's a mistake. They should have delayed it a week. They might still,
because the trailer looks good.
Yeah.
All right.
They might still delay it a week, but for box office predictions this week,
since we're recording early this week, so.
Uncharted, we're gonna say 23.5 million domestic. A Dog, 8.8 million domestic, and Spider-Man No Way Home, 6 million domestic.
Guys, you got to stop though with Spider-Man No Way Home still getting $6 million in the box office all the way into the first weekend or the last weekend in February. Mm-hmm. With that is guys. Dog's been out 2 weeks and it's still almost catching up. It's still in third place. This movie has legs.
Oh yeah.
So,
and Uncharted still strong, which is great to see, honestly, because I was worried that it wouldn't do well with the fans. So hopefully it'll get a sequel.
Yeah. Let's see if those numbers actually play out, but that's what it's projected right now. Yeah. All right. Shmuley.
That's me.
You have a segment.
I do?
You should do it.
Oh, that's new. A recent resurfaced comment from the Emperor himself, Ian McDiarmid, has fans wondering if we haven't really seen the last of Palps yet. Well, that is before the Rise of Skywalker in the timeline. We'll discuss his comments and a few possible ways for the Emperor to show up in upcoming projects.
Do it.
Be on your guard. There are older and fouler things than orcs in the deep places of the world.
All right, then, keep your secrets.
Your coming to us is as the footsteps of doom.
There are many magic rings in this world, Bilbo Baggins, and none of them should be used lightly.
It's Celebration.
That was
great.
I mean, when Ian McDiarmid, they roll the Rise of Skywalker trailer. It's the first time we get the name of the movie. First time we get to see that the Emperor is in it. I don't think anybody had a clue he was in it.
Nope.
And then Ian McDiarmid comes out and he goes, "Roll it again," and the whole place goes crazy.
That's it. And then he just leaves.
That was one of the best moments ever. So if that's all we get is something like that, I'll be fine.
I think everybody will be fine with that. Yeah. So where this rumor comes from is it's kind of just recently resurfaced, but there was a September 2021 interview with Metro that Ian McDiarmid was on, and he was discussing Obi-Wan Kenobi. And he said, "I think I have to accept that thanks to my ungrateful granddaughter, Rey. My annihilation was finally final. But, of course, Vader is back in the new Obi-Wan Kenobi television series. So I suppose it's not impossible that one day his mentor might be discovered once again skulking in the shadows."
Can you do that all over again in a British accent? Because it just doesn't feel right.
No.
Okay. Can I do it all over? No, I'm kidding. No. Can I sing that song from earlier, Love and Marriage?
No.
Good.
Jeez, you're really you're like a little kid asking all these words. Can you do this? Can I do that? Anyway, first off, what do y'all think about this comment?
I mean, you could make so much off of this, and I'm sure that the clickbait sites had a field day with this, but I think that it's possible. It's always possible to get Palpatine back. It's always possible to see all these characters and build the world and the galaxy more of Star Wars than what we've seen before. There are so many stories that can be told, and Palpatine could be a part of so many of those. So whether it be him in a hologram in Obi-Wan Kenobi, just like he was in Empire, or it could be a full appearance by him. We don't know.
I don't know how you tell the stories between... I first of all, Andor and Kenobi, I know you're going to talk about those, but those two, I don't think you can tell those stories without him because he's the Emperor.
Yeah, he's going to be mentioned at least.
With it. I think it's a little harder, maybe in the Ahsoka one. I'm not sure how we're going to be able to figure that one out, but Mandalorian, same thing, because you're dealing with that period of time when everybody thinks he's dead. That makes it harder. But I think it's almost, we got him in Rebels.
We did.
Yeah,
that was
a great sequence. So,
oh my gosh.
So hopefully we do get some more Emperor. I'm always up for more of the Emperor with it. He is, as we've said, what is it? 2019? Is that when the Rise of Skywalker came out? In the build up for this. So it's been 3 years ago. Gosh, that's a long time now.
Dang.
We said that, in the Star Wars story, everybody else is playing checkers while the Emperor is playing chess. Yeah. And that's, we have to have that character.
And he even paid attention to the small people like he did in Rebels. With Ezra.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's go through and discuss some of the upcoming projects that he might be able to show up in and how he might be able to show up. First off is the obvious, because he referenced it in the comment, would be the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. This is probably the safest and easiest to execute out of all of the options. I mean, we already know we're going to see Vader in this series. That has been confirmed. Palps is alive and he's still ruling the Empire, so...
I just want him to make a Vader show. Because they haven't done anything with this character yet.
Pause for comedic effect.
Right. Yeah.
Yes, that's called the Skywalker Saga.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, we're going to see Vader. It would make sense that we would see his master as well at some point. Also, he's the Emperor, and this is during that time when the Empire is ruling at its greatest. What are y'all's thoughts on the Emperor showing up in this?
I think it would really work. And if it is, Palp's giving the order to go take him down, it could be also Palpatine, ordering some Inquisitors to go take him down, even though they're Darth Vader's little group of people.
Posse.
Sith groupies.
Yeah, the Sith groupies. But honestly, I could see so much happening with Palpatine just being here and there in that series. But I don't think he would be a main character at all.
Dad, do you think we somehow, via hologram or the Force or something, see a a conversation between Obi-Wan and the Emperor in this series somehow.
No, I don't think we see an Obi-Wan and the Emperor.
Would you like that though?
I don't know. I've never thought of that happening before.
I mean, the characters haven't interacted very much, but
they've interacted enough in the prequels.
And Obi-Wan's going to harbor some animosity toward him because he turned Anakin.
I don't know. I mean, that would be an interesting idea. I do think that we have to get Ian McDiarmid, or we have to get the Emperor in this series. I don't think that he can order the Inquisitors though, because I feel like the Inquisitors are underneath.
They're Darth Vader.
They're Darth Vader's things. But you do see some interaction. You should see some interaction between Vader and Palpatine. Would be kind of cool if we saw some. Let's strap on the Sith lightsabers and go after something moment, kind of a Lords of the Sith type moment where you have that happen. That would be a lot of fun. I think Ian McDiarmid would be up for that.
He'd be so up for that.
And I think that Hayden would love to do that.
Oh, yes. Absolutely.
With Ian, so.
Yeah. Next up would be Andor. Again, we don't know a whole lot about this series. We don't even know much about Kenobi in the first place, but we know even less about this. But we do know that it's kind of set during the heyday of Palpatine trying to expand the Empire and squash rebellion. This is pretty recent after Episode 3. I mean, this show is about the battle against the Empire. Mm-hmm. So it would make sense to see the Emperor in some way, shape, or form. Although I think it would be... we'd see the Emperor in a different light in this series than we would in, say, Kenobi. In this, we're going to see the political Emperor. In Kenobi, we'll probably see the Sith Lord.
Yeah, it would be cool to see him both ways.
Yeah, it would.
Yeah. What are y'all's thoughts on the chances of him showing up in Andor?
Again, we don't know much about Andor, but I do feel like it would work to see the political version of Palpatine in Andor. Since I don't really expect Cassian to be going and fighting Palpatine anytime soon, or even Darth Vader for that reason.
No, I don't think that anybody really talks about Darth Vader when it comes to the rebellion at this point. I mean, they know he's there and they're scared of him, but they see him sort of as
Vader's
just
more
this
of a glorified Inquisitor at this point. If we're being honest.
So I don't think that we'll be seeing a fight at any time, but I do think we might be seeing a political working and how the Empire became so powerful through Palpatine in this series.
Palpatine playing chess.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you remember in Rebels when they were showing the propaganda stuff with Palpatine, with the Emperor at this, and they were showing him unscarred and all of those types of things. It would be kind of cool to see Ian McDiarmid being able to play the Emperor without him being all the shriveled version of it. They would have to use some de-aging a little bit.
Yeah.
But do that in live action with it. I would also, I mean, gosh, wouldn't this be the coolest thing ever to see a little bit of the Emperor and some more Tarkin. With this, because they've already done it. They know how to do it.
Yeah.
Get some Tarkin in there de-aged as well, and have that. Maybe even they can get Stephen Stanton to voice him in this. He didn't get the chance to voice him in Rogue One, but maybe get him to voice him in this. That would be
so cool. Yeah. And then this one, like you said, these next two are going to be a little bit. They're going to have to do some finagling to fit the character in, but it very well could happen. We've got Ahsoka coming up now. There's kind of two ways that make the most sense to bring this character in. One would be a Clone Wars flashback somehow. They go all the way back to the Clone Wars, and this could potentially involve Anakin again.
You could see the snips with talking to Palps.
Right.
I mean, we do know that Anakin is making an appearance in the show. So, I mean, he's already confirmed not as Darth Vader, but as Anakin Skywalker.
So
that's going to be so
that
cool.
holds merit for them to do a Clone Wars flashback.
Very.
Or, now this is kind of getting way out there, but
I don't know.
They could go World Between Worlds. And I know you like.
And there is a whole half of our listenership that just groaned audibly because they don't like the World Between Worlds.
You got to be careful with that because, obviously if we do this, we're going to see Palps at like multiple points in the timeline and stuff. And at this point, you got to be careful.
That's such a cool idea.
It is. You got to be careful though, because that was part of the downfall of Star Trek, and it can start to feel Star Trek-y if you start bringing in all this time travel stuff. So they can work with it, I think. And like you said, I think it'll. Well, okay. What do you guys think about that idea?
Palpatine was searching for the World Between Worlds in Rebels, that was one of the things he was looking for. And then he almost got it when Ezra went in there, and then that whole amazing sequence happened where he was chasing with fire. That's an amazing sequence. But I do think that it's possible we could see Palpatine deal with the world between worlds. And the fact that Ahsoka is dead in Rise of Skywalker is concerning.
Oh, that's true. I didn't think of that.
Why you got to do that, man? Why you got to bring that up?
I'm wondering if somehow Palpatine is involved in that. In this series. If we see Ahsoka die in this series, that would be horribly heartbreaking, but it would also help with the characters.
That's not, but you're saying it in the context of Palpatine could be the one that did that.
Palpatine could be the one that you know.
All right,
gives
Nate,
the final blow.
for that.
I'm not a big fan of.
I'm going to keep going with the Clone Wars flashback idea.
I do like the idea.
That would be amazing.
I think that's more likely.
I do,
but I also would love to see World of Between Worlds just a little bit more. And I don't want to use it.
You don't introduce that and then just drop it.
I know, and it doesn't. It is not time travel. Dave Filoni has gone on record explaining why in the Lucasfilm story group they have decided that it is not time travel, and the reasons why it is limited to just those portals. It is not about like you can go and change and make a new timeline. We're not going to have an end game moment here where with Infinity Stones going all over and having
it's the Force connecting critical points in the story more than anything.
Right.
And it considers Canto Bight a critical point.
And if you get World Between Worlds, everything is on the table. You can go all the way back to Old Republic era, all the way to Rey in the future.
Dang.
We might see Ahsoka deciding whether or not to save Anakin.
Yeah, I mean, let's see that in live action. With it, that would be cool.
Yeah, and then in season 3 of The Mandalorian, this one's a little bit even harder because the Empire's not really thing, so you can't get political palps, and the Force isn't really front and center with this series, so you can't get the Sith Lord. But right, if somehow they're able to bring in the Emperor or give more story in that.
There's a huge story involving the Emperor behind the scenes, underneath the surface in The Mandalorian, and that is Baby Yoda.
Exactly.
They capture Baby Yoda, Grogu. They capture Baby Yoda. They are trying to do it to harvest his blood, obviously for midichlorians, obviously for cloning. Everything is surrounding that first couple seasons had to do with cloning, and that is because of the Emperor. Mm-hmm. I know it's been way too long since The Rise of Skywalker came out for us to remember how much we felt like it tied into what was going on in The Mandalorian. I think that you could definitely see more Emperor as a result of that. And more than that, I think you see some Snoke.
Nate?
So it's possible. I'm not sure. This kind of seems like the most unlikely somehow of all the series because nobody knows that he's alive at this point. So we can't see him make an appearance like that. Unless he kills everybody that's seen him. And then
everybody in the Exegol storyline, though, everybody that's part of the Final Order, which there are General Pride, all of them, they know about the Emperor.
That's true.
With it. And so we don't know how much Moff Gideon is connected to the Final Order stuff.
Very true.
At Exegol. We also don't know, at some point, Ahsoka and Mandalorian is going to bring in Thrawn. I could definitely see Thrawn being completely aware that the Emperor is around. And that could be a really fun
without even
line.
being told. He's just like, oh yeah, that was totally a fake.
Absolutely. So,
well, the thought of Palpatine showing up again is certainly interesting. With McDermott's comments and all the upcoming projects, there's a good chance we're not done with the Emperor just yet.
Yeah. Good job. That was a fun segment.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was awesome. Okay, anything else you guys want to talk about?
Anything else?
Yeah, Doctor Strange 2 producer says the Multiverse of Madness title has many meanings.
Because there's many multiverses.
Whoa, what a concept. But what those meanings could be, I don't think any of us know.
Yes, and the Batman producer compares upcoming Penguin spinoff show to Scarface, which...
Because his face is scarred?
Yeah, but no.
Oh.
It's going to be a gangster show, which I honestly am super excited to see. It's going to be The Sopranos for Batman.
That sounds fun.
It does.
With it. Top Gun 2 features an epic new theme, says guitarist Johnny Marr. Now, can we just get an epic new trailer for us? Please. We've been seeing the same one for well over a year.
just with an updated release date.
Yeah, they've updated that release date 6 times, I think.
They just released the same trailer, but with the new theme and the new release date.
That's exactly what's going to happen with it. All right. Okay. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for listening to Tatooine Sons of Pop Culture podcast. We definitely appreciate that. Make sure you check out Friday's Batman spoiler review. We will have seen it. Definitely we'll have lots of thoughts. By the time the show comes out, we'll have seen it at least twice.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see it 2 times by that point.
But anyway.
Yes, and if you had a good time listening, it would be awesome if you could share this with your friends.
Yeah, and this show is only a small part of the Tatooine Sons world, so if you liked it that much, you want to get more, be sure to like us on Facebook and join our Facebook discussion group, and follow us on Twitter to get in on all the action, and keep up to date with everything we've got going on at TatooineSons.com.
That's right. Don't forget to follow the show on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss our next episode. Give us a review on whatever podcast app that you're listening to us on right now, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whichever, go for it. We would truly appreciate it. All right. And that'll do it for this week. Anything else you guys want to say?
May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you, always.
This party's over.
I like that Wookiee.
Don't get technical with me.
Join, please.
Yep, yep.